This morning, we're learning much more about the Americans hijacked by Somali pirates in the Indian Ocean. U.S. officials are now considering how to respond. NBC's George Lewis reports.
These photos from Scott and Jean Adams' website show the couple on the adventure of a lifetime, sailing around the world aboard their 58-foot sloop, the Quest. As they traveled, they handed out donated Bibles. Ironically, Jean wrote, "We expect this trip to hold some unexpected surprises." Now the management of the yacht club has asked members not to comment further on Scott and Jean Adam. The fear is that anything that's said could further compromise their safety. As news of their capture broke, people were following the story closely.
We got an email from them about a week ago, and they said that they were about to take off into where it was going to be dangerous and there wouldn't be any more radio contact.
No more radio contact because they didn't want the bands of pirates off the Somali coast to know their location. Somali officials said the Adams were among 4 Americans captured by pirates. A friend of the Adams said the 2 other Americans were Robert Riggle and Phyllis McKay from Seattle. Last year, 49 vessels were hijacked by pirates and 1,016 crew members were taken hostage. A total of 28 vessels and 638 hostages are still being held for ransom. This in spite of stepped-up patrols by the U.S. Fifth Fleet and the navies of other countries. On Wednesday, this convicted Somali pirate, Abduwali Abdulkadir Muse, was sentenced to almost 34 years in a U.S. prison for his role in the hijacking of the freighter Maersk, Alabama in 2009. 3 other pirates were killed during a Navy SEAL operation in which the captain was rescued. Last November, a retired British couple, Paul and Rachel Chandler, were released after being held by Somali pirates for 388 days.
Happy to be alive.
I have my wife. I have my life.
And now, friends of Scott and Jean Adam are praying for their rescue or release. For today, George Lewis, NBC News, Los Angeles.
For more insight on the hijacking, we're joined by maritime security analyst Tim Hart. Tim, good morning.
Good morning.
So these waters that were talked about in George's piece here, I mean, this is notorious for pirate activity. I guess my question to you is, who are these modern-day pirates?
Well, the situation has kind of developed over the past few years. So what you had when this really started to explode in scale in 2008 is you had a lot of former fishermen who they had their industry essentially destroyed by illegal fishermen and alleged toxic waste dumping. And then so what they saw an opportunity was to actually hijack these vessels, firstly as a kind of a toll, but also ransom them back to the company. And because of the situation in Somalia, being as it is a failed state, they had the ability to do this and continue to do this. But now it's turned into such an industry that you've got fairly large, organised criminal gangs with thousands of people involved taking advantage of this situation.
Are these pirates getting more money from private yachts like these 4 Americans that were held as opposed to these large cargo vessels? I'm surprised who they end up targeting. Yeah,
this is the thing. I mean, they for yachts specifically, they have obviously targeted yachts before. This is the second yacht that they have at the moment. They have a South African couple also being held, and I mean, it's more of an opportunistic target for them. The larger ships do get more money. You have a huge oil tanker which may bring in the maximum that's been paid as ransom is about $9.5 million. So that kind of ransom is huge, and you just wouldn't get that for those, essentially for a couple, because they don't have access to those funds. They don't have a company behind them. You have to appeal to essentially to the governments themselves.
We learned about the gentleman that went to prison, or is going to prison for 33 years for hijacking back in 2009, the Maersk, Alabama. Do you see what just happened this past weekend as some sort of retaliation about that, or are these all separate events?
I think this is purely coincidental. I mean, it looks like an opportunistic attack. The area in which the couple were sailing in was a very high-risk area. It's an area of the Arabian Sea which has seen a lot of attacks. You had the Samho Jewelry, the Korean tanker that was taken around that area, and a recent hijacking the Irene supertanker VLCC was taken very close to that position as well. So this is a known area where pirate gangs are known to be operating.
Few seconds left. Do we know what's going to happen to this couple? What's been the tendency that they do once they do arrive at land?
Usually when they arrive at land, because they're not on a large ship, because usually the crew would stay on board, it's not large enough really to sustain a long period hijacking, so what they'll do is they'll probably move them on land, also because they'll fear some sort of rescue attempt. So they'll probably try and separate them out, maybe keep them separate, and also try and limit their limit the ability to launch rescue operations.
And then we just wait and see. Tim Hart, thank you so much for your insight and information.